The UN High Commissioner for Human Rights, Volker Turk, is said to be shocked and appalled. As Turkman said to journalists on Friday, the Israeli finance ministers, of course, Bagadlan's storm-rich statement earlier this week in which he deployed aid for civilians in the Gaza Strip and suggested that the deliberate starvation of Palestinian civilians in Gaza could be justified as immoral as long as Israel hostages are held by Hamas. And let's have more details of that in this report by Yahya Jammeh.
Gaza has long been reliant on humanitarian aid, as the territory has been under a years-long blockade by Israel and Egypt. Before the war began in October, 2/3 of Gazans were supported by food assistance. Now, nearly the entire population is dependent on aid to eat. Almost 2.4 million of the population are displaced and suffering from food shortages. As the war escalates, Israel Finance Minister Bezalel Smotrich suggested that letting 2 million Palestinians in Gaza starve to death could be justified and moral in order to free hostages. These comments have left the High Commissioner disgusted, who, while speaking to the press in Geneva, said UN have condemned what they described as hate speech against innocent civilians.
Is shocked and appalled by the words of Minister Smotrich, according to whom letting 2 million Palestinians in Gaza starve to death could be justified and moral in order to free hostages. He condemns these words in the strongest terms, which also incite hatred against innocent civilians. The starvation of civilians as a method of warfare is a war crime.
According to the UN's Human Rights Office, this direct and public statement, especially by a public official, risks inciting other atrocity crime and call for such statement to cease immediately. Mr. Lawrence said that they must be investigated and, if found to amount to a crime, must be prosecuted and punished. Meanwhile, the United Nations Children's Fund UNICEF spokesperson Salim Owais expressed how he had been shocked by the depth of suffering, destruction, and widespread displacement in Gaza.
The footage the world sees on TVs gives an important peek into the living hell people are enduring for over 10 months. What it does not fully show is how behind the crumbled buildings, whole neighborhoods, livelihoods, and dreams have been leveled to the ground. When you see an image of a displaced mother carrying her child and all their belongings on her back, you don't see hundreds of uprooted people following her up the road.
Nearly 400,000 Palestinians have been killed and over 91,000 injured, most of them women and children, since the beginning of Israel's military offensive in retaliation for the Hamas attack of 7 October 2023, according to Gaza's health authorities. Accordingly, almost all of Gaza's population is struggling with food shortages and hunger, and 500,000 people are now facing starvation. A new report by independent experts have said. Reporting for Eyeafrica News, I am